Hello everyone. Today I'm joined by my old uh, friend that I used to train with, Jake Weiss, and I was fortunate enough to train under his father as well, Earl Weiss, and he's a fourth degree Taekwondo ITF black belt, and I'm glad to have him joined here today. So Jake, how are you doing today?
Doing good. How you doing?
Pretty good. Are you still are you still training?
Yeah, I'm training part-time in my father's school still, and then coaching and assistant striking coach at a Max gym where they combine pretty much Thai, Dutch, and ITF Taekwondo pretty much all into the mix. It's like a hybrid.
So you've done like other martial arts as well as Taekwondo.
Yeah, as of say for a while now, I've been transitioning between my traditional style into the more popular styles known as Muay Thai and Dutch for a while now. Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah. So how obviously I think you've probably been training for most of your life, right?
Yeah, it's at the age of 5 started. I'm 32 now. So, I mean, I tried starting at 5. My dad kicked me out at 5 because I kept failing and I was too young to pay attention. And then I came back at 6. He failed me, kicked me out, told my mom I wasn't ready. Came back at 7. I guess I decided to stick around and he decided to finally keep me around. So, kept training from 7 till from now. So, yeah, it's been doing it for a while.
I know that your father obviously trained like under like the inventor of Taekwondo, General Choi, right?
Yeah, well, his my dad's first instructor was a teacher at Niles North High School, actually, who was also very close with one of another person named Grandmaster Seraph, who was the first of 3 people to be promoted by General Choi, the founder of Taekwondo. But he was the only non-Korean out of the 3. So
Oh,
there were
really?
2 Koreans, and Grandmaster Seraph was the only, let alone not non-Korean, but he's also an American, the one of 3 to be the first promoted to ninth down and spread it. And his head student was my father's instructor. So my lineage is, as you can see, it's my dad, Grandmaster Seraph, and then General Choi. So it's a lot of politics when it comes to, unfortunately, the art of Taekwondo.
So have you ever obviously there's for those people that don't know, there's like two main schools of Taekwondo. There's the ITF and the WTF. And
Yeah, there's people don't know that there's a difference between styles and organizations.
yeah,
So there's 2 different styles, I should say. There's ITF, which was the first created version of Taekwondo after they mixed together all these different kwans, which people don't know. This is before there was Taekwondo, before there was 2 different styles of Taekwondo. There was Taekyon, there was Chungdo Kwan, there was all these different kwans. And then at some point, General Choi tried to mesh these all together, and still over the years until he passed away, he was adapting to the art. But when he created Taekwondo, he wanted to spread it to everywhere, including North Korea. And this really pissed off South Korea. So when this happened, South Korea pretty much, I should say, lack of a better term, banished him, like drove him out. Like, okay, well, we see what you've done with creating the art of Taekwondo, showing like an art for Korea. We're going to keep the name, but create our own new style. So that's how the split happened between the 2 styles. So ITF kept growing, which was primarily meant for self defense. It wasn't even meant for sparring competitions. General Choi didn't even like sparring. He thought that
really.
there were too many rules to show what Taekwondo is really meant for. You can't poke a guy in the eyes. You can't jab a guy in the throat. Whereas the WT system, the Olympic style system, as we know today, is for sport, scoring points. So after South Korea banished him and yada, 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 when South Korea hosted the Olympics, guess whose style became very popular? the new style known
Yeah.
as WT or known as WTF back in the day. So this is why pretty much when people hear the name Taekwondo, all they know is pretty much the Olympic style. But when you go to other depth of organizations, I can't keep count. Nobody can keep count. There's so many different organizations where they've adapted a certain style and just added on to their own. So, like ATA, for example, that's an
I heard of
organization.
that one. Yeah.
And that's what Anthony Pettis and Sergio Pettis came from. That's where they started their martial arts, is the ATA, which was like a small branch of the founder of that organization took what he learned from the ITF style and then created his own version. So, but there's like a point stop system, chest protector, face protector. I don't think they can punch to the head. It's like a strange combination of actually like ITF and WT at that point, but with point
Oh,
stops.
yeah.
So yeah, that's one very famous person. If you follow the UFC and MMA community, Anthony Pettis and Sergio Pettis came out of the ATA organization.
It's actually interesting. I was fortunate enough to actually meet with him like this was like a couple years ago. And I remember him mentioning something about ATA, actually.
Yeah, they were one of the first Taekwondo organizations to come to the U.S. That's why
Yeah.
It's called the American Taekwondo Association. I'm pretty sure.
It's pretty interesting. I actually didn't know a lot of that. I mean, I did some research on it, and I do know that obviously like originally like the goal was to like kind of like combine a bunch of like the Korean martial arts, right?
Yeah,
That exist.
so like I said, he was trying to combine all these different kwans. There was Chungdo Kwan, which is as you met Coach Chris from Max Gym.
Yeah,
His roots come from Chungdo Kwan. There's people who come from all these different kinds of kwans, and then General Choi created the group called Odo Kwan, which means I think from what my dad told me, it is the school that welcomes all different kwans pretty much. So that way it's not trying to single anybody out. And from there, they could try and learn from each other what their weaknesses are, what their strengths are. And at that point, that's why he wanted to try and build it all together. But the main difference was when General Choi was doing ITF, he wanted it to not be so similar to a karate system.
yeah,
So as you see other Kwans before they created ITF and Taekwondo, they look very like linear and stiff, kind of like karate. Or I mean, if you look at WT, that's considered Cookie Wan. It's another Kwan. They're very stiff, whereas ITF has the sine wave. So that was one of the reasons he this started incorporating sine wave, which was one small part. He was trying to show that we were different, not the same as like karate. Even though he had a rank in Shotokan karate before he went to
yeah.
start his own Taekwondo journey.
Yeah. Do you know if by any chance if he supported the belt system or if he wasn't in support of it?
I know he was in support of the belts. He just wasn't in support of the sparring aspect, like I mentioned. Someone said it was. I'm not trying to swear. Like so, rooster fighter, cockfighting is what he was
Oh yeah,
referencing. He's like, it looks like cockfighting, rooster fighting. He's like, there's too many rules. When self defense, there's no rules. So that's
yeah,
why. But still, he's like, that's what the people want to see. So they incorporated their rule set, and just like any other martial art, there's still competitions. There's still rules. You can't. I mean, you got gloves on in Muay Thai. You can't poke a guy in the eyes, though.
yeah,
You can't. You're not supposed to strike a guy to the back. There is still rules. At the end of the day, Muay Thai even is still a sport where there are rules, but it's as close as you can probably get to when it comes to street fight versus per se even Taekwondo, like you can't kick low in sparring, but we still train it in spar. We still train it at the school. We still
yeah,
train throwing elbows. We still train throwing eye pokes or weapon disarming or how do you, we don't really use weapons. We practice more weapon disarming because remember, this was a military self-defense. It
yeah.
was supposed to be meant for hand-to-hand combat to take the weapon away from the guy and finish him.
Okay, that's interesting. I know. I don't know if you've heard of. I think it's called Taekwondo, I believe. I don't know if you've heard of that one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was one of the ones I mentioned. When I said all the different
yeah,
ones. Yeah, it's Taekwondo. That's one
yeah,
of the many different styles he tried incorporating. He tried taking all these different styles and creating his own system.
yeah.
And
I was
now,
actually fortunate enough to like meet someone that actually did train with that style. Like,
yeah, unfortunately, all those super old traditional styles not it's not very common anymore. Everyone
yeah,
wants to
kind of
box,
like
Muay Thai,
assimilated with like Taekwondo, right?
or look at what's it called? What's the style called from Chuck Norris and then that was I don't think it was called Taekwondo. It was called
Taekwondo, like
oh, what was it called in Cobra Kai? The new show. They call it Tang Sudo. Tang
Tangsudo.
Sudo.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that was I remember the second season I saw and they say Jumbi. I'm like, they're teaching karate. It's a Jumbi. That's Korean. And then before they released the next season of them talking about when he was in the Korean War, like, oh, it makes sense. He's teaching them Korean karate, and that's pretty much what Chuck Norris was famous for, Tang Sudo. So
yeah.
it's very similar to like how the system of point spar. They do lots of point sparring, which is very hard to be a realistic approach. But if you can take that and mix it into other stuff, you can become very successful.
It seems like in a way, it was kind of like a precursor to well, like modern like mixed martial arts, because we're trying to combine all these styles in a way.
Yeah, I mean it's almost as similar if you look at how Bruce Lee did it. He wanted
Yeah,
to combine all the different styles into what became Jeet Kune Do. So he's trying to take from the throwing aspect, the judo aspect, striking. From he's trying. There's that's what they try and I know push on when it comes to the his version of Jeet Kune Do. There's no rules, so
yeah,
it's
very
hard
similar.
to have a competition when there's no rules. Hence, what I said. General Troy didn't like the sparring part.
Yeah, yeah. No, I can definitely understand that. At the same time, though, I can see like there being like a benefit to it as well, to the sparring aspect. It's
Yeah, it
just like
teaches you
you have to be just
timing.
aware of like what you what the rules are, I guess. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, and
In a way.
then if you're fortunate enough to transition into different martial arts and then learn what your weaknesses are, like when I went from Taekwondo into Thai and Dutch, you can't. I grew up not being able to kick low, but I know how to kick, so I'm like, all right, well, now I can just do what I already know, but not have to worry about hitting above the waist, and then
Yeah,
things just started clicking. It took a long time to break old habits, though. And from there, I was able to learn what a lot of my weaknesses were when I went back to sparring some of my old friends that you know, like Ula and Jovan.
yeah,
And they try and throw a back kick at me, and I cut the distance and clinch them up. And they're like, oh, crap, what do I do?
yeah. So it kind of gives you like an edge the more like knowledge you have in a way.
Well, and that's why I first transitioned into those things because I wanted my Taekwondo to become better. I wanted to be able to exploit what Taekwondo practitioners are known for not being good at, which is having good hands or just constant pressure, maybe taking a couple hits because it's point based. But at the end of
Yeah,
the day, those points don't only add up, but I've seen guys get knocked out and it doesn't take much. Once you get knocked out once, that's a mental thing. It gets in your head, you know? So,
yeah. Obviously, you've been I know that you've been fortunate enough to compete in ITF, right, which is obviously different from the Olympic style, like because they allow punches and kicks.
yeah, just because they can like punch to the chest, which is, if you think about it, like I told you, Kukiwan, right?
Yeah,
Look at what the rules for, say, Kyokushin is. You
yeah,
can't
it's true.
you can't punch to the face.
Yeah,
They can throw knees and kick low, but similar aspect, they cannot punch to the face.
yeah,
So you can see that, but you can see there's a big difference between the Kyokushin. Like they throw pretty hard body shots at least,
yeah,
right? I think TKD uses it more like to push and like create distance. They're primarily just
Yeah,
kicking.
it's kind of like boxing, just but with kicks. It's basically kind of in a way similar to that.
Yeah, it upsets me because Taekwondo translates to the way of or the art of smashing and breaking with your hand and foot, but there's no hands in WT.
Yeah, it's true.
I'm like, what's the point in this translation of this art when you can't use half of the tools you're trying to describe? So
It's true. Now I can definitely see like the problem with that because it's like, you know, like the hands are obviously very important in any fighting situation. And with kicking, you need a lot of distance. So it's like if you only restricted to kicking, it kind of limits your setup in a way for the
limits
kick.
your setup, and it's like a game of chess. I mean, if you're just so good at kicks, which WT guys are, and they can keep you at distance, you
Yeah,
can't get in with your hands. Now, if you're good enough or are, I guess you'd say, strong enough, or I don't know what the better term would be, to take one of those hit from the kicks to close that gap, then yeah, there's hard for that WT TKD guy to utilize his kicks when you're literally chest to chest on him. That's where they do their your fadeaway turning kicks and spin kicks and everything. But imagine, say, you're in the ring on the ropes or something like that. It's very difficult to be kicking when you're on the ropes. I'm not trying to bash WT on all this. They're very fast, very amazing kicks.
yeah,
But it's just when it comes to the definition of Taekwondo and when it's known and but they get a bad rep. I've seen how old school WT TKD is, and it looks badass, but it's not what it used to be from what I've seen. It's very tippy
yeah,
tap. Let's play let's play tag type of thing.
yeah. No, I mean that's for sure. There definitely is like a pro to just isolating the training for kicking. But obviously the con is that your punches aren't that good. And I was gonna ask you like, so outside of Taekwondo, like what was the first martial art that you did after Taekwondo?
First martial art after Taekwondo. Well, I was doing, even though my dad taught jujitsu once in a while at Deep Park, as you saw. I was doing it for a small part of time. I would say first. That was my first one, was getting into BJJ for a while, and then college happened, work happened, took a break from that, and then I I had got my first job just so I could pay for Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, and then I noticed my entire paycheck was going to Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. I was like, man, I'd rather just keep the money and stop taking BJJ right now while I'm in college and trying to have fun. So that was kind of why I took a break from that. But a little bit after, not long ago, I had transitioned to Thai and I'd say just mostly Thai at what's it called, top level MMA. But I had competed in many open tournaments against many different styles over the years growing up, from kickboxing, ITF Taekwondo, uh, facing karate point guys, fighting in point tournaments. I'm from that aspect. I've competed in all of those growing up. But all the high level ones I competed in were just ITF based.
If I'm not mistaken here, you also did like wrestling in high school, right?
Yeah, in high school I did wrestling, and I was actually an undefeated conference wrestler by junior year of high school. So
Oh wow.
I, I had taken out pretty much everybody, and then unfortunately my senior year, why I didn't get conference senior year, I had gotten MRSA like the very beginning of the season, and I was pretty much out for 3 months. Nobody wanted me in the gym. They didn't even want me to school. Like they were like, stay at home.
Oh wow.
Do not even come in. So yeah, I lost. And in my first match back, I remember you wrestled too. You have regionals. So being out the entire season, I'm the last seed. Have the least amount of matches. So who do they put me up against? They put me up against the first seed. So my first matchup is
Oh
against
wow.
the guy who goes to state, and we actually go into overtime, and I hit him with a move called a cement mixer. It's a risky move. It's like a big risk, big reward. So I hit it, and but I wasn't able to finish it. And yep, that was it senior year. So I didn't really get a chance to get conference again. I didn't get used to have the spotlight at Niles North wrestling where they would just have the light on the big mat, all the lights off, and you were. I didn't get that my senior year, so yeah, junior year was my last pretty much hoorah when it came to that. So incorporating that into, let's say, like Muay Thai, it's a, lots of similar transitions we can make, which is why I really liked Muay Thai. I was able to do a lot of things. Like clinch reminded me of tying up. I could do a duck under from wrestling in Thai if I'm sneaky about it and
Yeah.
finesse the guy. There's just a lot of cool stuff that went together that really made sense, and I had fun doing. It was like being in high school again. Like I had that opportunity again to show what I have.
I like that. So it seems like you train like a bunch of martial arts outside of even Taekwondo. But obviously, like I guess in a way, your bread and butter is Taekwondo because that's just what you grew up with. But
Yeah, I'd say good as a good thing and a bad thing. Sometimes we
yeah,
revert to bad habits, but sometimes it throws off the guys who aren't
yeah,
used to it.
yeah.
So I mean, you've seen, well, you've been doing it for a while, and I haven't been able to see you spar in a very long time. But if you can watch, if you ever come back to Max Gym, you could see me or Jovan or Ula or JC. And a lot of these guys who learn just strictly Muay Thai, it just throws off their entire game. Even when we've
Yeah,
gone to compete, they're just like hitting them with side kicks, back kicks. They're just like not sure how to walk the guy down with the usual Muay Thai esque, just walking them
yeah,
down. And I mean, perfect example is how you take somebody out like that. Is that famous video of Rick Rufus, Duke Rufus's brother,
oh, yeah,
that when he fights the Muay Thai guy. Have you seen
yeah.
that
I've
famous
seen that one.
video?
Yeah, yeah, I've seen that one. Yeah,
So that's like, yeah, considered the video that was brought Muay Thai to the U.S. Like seeing an American kickboxer get destroyed pretty much, and seeing why
yeah,
leg kicks work. So
yeah, yeah. No, that's true. Yeah, I mean that's like one of the benefits of like Taekwondo is that because most people don't train it, so it gives you that edge in a way.
yeah, it gives you the edge, and say like when you transition into an art like Muay Thai Dutch, you better understood control, balance, breathing,
Yeah,
timing. Whereas when you first go into Thai, I mean, you learn all those things in that too, but it's much more. It's exponentially taken to another level when you're learning, I should say, a traditional martial art, not even Taekwondo. Whether it's you
yeah,
learn those things at a much slower pace because that's like the first thing you're trying to learn. Whereas Thai is stance and how to walk correctly and rhythm, but you definitely learn a lot more control and breathing, and I would say the traditional art aspect. And if you're fortunate enough to start in something like that and then transition, you will be far ahead of people.
no, that's true. Because it's like me personally, I actually never really felt like a beginner just because I like trained in a martial art beforehand, right? And it's like you can take what you know from there and like add it to what they're teaching you.
Yeah, it's all about being able to utilize and master that art as the practitioner. A lot of people say, "Oh, Muay Thai is better than Dutch kickboxing." I very rarely hear Dutch kickboxing say that about Muay Thai, but usually it's like Muay Thai is better than Taekwondo, or karate is better than this. So there's like, but at the end of the day, you get a special case of someone who is able to make that style work. You get
Yeah,
Raymond Daniels, a point fighter in Kenpo karate slash Shotokan. I mean, look at him. He's so good at time. Look at Wonder Boy Thompson. He's a different Kenpo. There's different types of Kenpo karate.
Yeah.
Look at his style. Given he's gifted with very lanky limbs. Look at Lyoto Machida, George St. Pierre, Conor McGregor. He's known for training with an ITF guy in Ireland. So it's like you can see the roots of the traditional aspects when they start to mix that in. Anthony Pettis. I mean, you can see it. The timing, kicks you don't see people doing in the the Muay Thai and Dutch. Now I see Dutch guys and Muay Thai guys do it, but I have a strong feeling they learned it somewhere else first.
Yeah, that's true. No, it's like the origin of martial arts is very interesting because even with like Conor McGregor, as you mentioned, like I remember his when he like first joined, like one of his bigger criticisms of like the martial arts that people were practicing, right, is that they were too stiff and too like firm with like the Muay Thai style, whereas he was a bit more fluid when he came in.
Yeah, I mean, you see how he was when he first moved, but before ego got into the game, he's
Yeah,
very, very flowy, very relaxed, constant movement, kind of like Raymond Daniels is. Raymond Daniels even, I don't know how it happened. He competed in a very, very big ITF Taekwondo. Like he got to the finals. He competed in a full contact ITF competition against Ukraine, a Russian guy. I don't know if they were biased because it was an ITF comp and he lost, but you could see it. They're all constantly moving, staying flowy, trying to stay relaxed. And staying relaxed is something you learn in our patterns, I would say, ITF Taekwondo. Whereas
yeah,
other patterns for traditional martial arts are very stiff, like I talked about at the very beginning. So being able to learn to be relaxed until that last second impact really teaches you how to control your balance, your breathing, and it all just meshes together.
yeah. You know what's actually funny? Since you mentioned patterns, like I remember first time like you mentioned like the downward like block, right? And I remember you were like, it's not really like a block per se. It was more like a sweep, like swipe. You know what I mean?
It should be it. Well, it can transition to that. So, say if
Yeah,
you're doing the patterns, yeah, you block a certain way, but
yeah,
it can turn into something else. Like, say, when I'm fighting long guard and I have my arms stuck out, and you would learn this block in patterns. So, when I'm parrying a front kick, like you said, I'll swoop out the way, but it's almost the same idea. I'm doing this to or parry the kick and come over with the cross. I built that muscle memory of being able to use this arm to deflect something while coming over with whether it's my other hand or a leg. It all that's why when General Choi founded and created Taekwondo, everyone knows you're not going to spar how you do patterns. It's not
yeah,
realistic. But what he told I don't know if he told my dad or someone else, it's the point is to practice good habits and learn muscle memory skills. So whether you're using that technique or you're using it in a certain way, that's all he cared about. And you can see it works. Like I don't have to do the block like I do it in the pattern. Like I'm taking a second to execute it, but it's definitely transitioned into how I teach and train for striking and how you can see the difference. And when I teach someone else how to do something, it makes a big difference.
yeah. That's because I remember one of the like the bigger criticisms of like traditional martial arts usually happens to be like patterns, right? And I feel like one of the things about patterns is that, at least like my view on it, is that it's supposed to be more like muscle memory. Like you're developing that muscle memory for like the moves and transitions. At least that's how I see it.
Yeah, you're learning how to cut angles. You're learning how to balance yourself. You're learning how to control your breathing. You're learning so many, like General Choi said, just building good habits, learning how to have it in here without it being in here. If that makes sense. Like
Yeah,
sometimes I'll forget a pattern. I was training last week. I forgot a pattern. I had to like literally turn the switch off because my muscles still remember what to do. So it's kind of obviously there's some part of my brain in here that was able to still get the muscles moving in that certain direction and which techniques I was supposed to be doing. But the more I thought about it, the more I was forgetting versus just going with the flow.
I remember Wonder Boy actually. I think he talked about it. He said something like thinking is too slow. That's why like you just train it in you
You just have
so
to
that you don't even
train
have
how
to.
to react. Correct.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
So on this journey of martial arts that you've been in, um, I'm assuming you still like teach Taekwondo. I'm assuming, right?
Yeah, I teach. Well, I teach. I would say I'm able to, now that I'm a striking coach at Max Gym, I'm able to teach Taekwondo to those trying to learn how to do, even though it's Dutch and Thai hybrid, I can teach the Taekwondo in that aspect because after they spar with me, they're like, can you please show me how you did that?
Yeah.
And that's how it was at top level. I mean, I wasn't a coach there, but either I would see someone struggling to do something I knew how to do when it came to like a back kick or something. I would go up to them and kindly show them. And after they were able to learn it, after I did repetition with them, they were like, "Oh, can you show me this? Can you show me this?" I'm not a coach, so I would tell them, ask the owner first. Like when they started, kept asking me, but at first it was just like, once I was able to hit them with it, they were just like, "You gotta show me. You gotta show me how you did that."
Yeah. No, that's true. I feel like at least one thing that I found a lot of um like MMA gyms, right, or even Muay Thai gyms or whatever it is that when you come with like a traditional martial art background, right, is
They
that
hate it. They hate it.
yeah, yeah,
They do not like it.
yeah,
That's why when I first went to top level, I did not tell them I did taekwondo. I did not tell them I did anything.
mm,
And one day I brought my friend to drop in to train, and he starts telling everybody. And like,
oh,
oh, this makes a lot of sense now. I'm like, bro, why you gotta tell them? Like, yeah, he's an international competitor and he's been training for like 25 years. I'm like you've been sandbagging this whole time. Like, this makes so much sense now. I'm like, oh, well, it's out of the cat's out of the bag now. I didn't want to go in with people because I get the feeling when you go to a Thai school, MMA school, and he's like, oh, I have my black belt in this and I've done this, and they start
you don't
seeing you
respect it.
thinking you
Yeah,
know too much, or you
yeah,
think you're on your high horse. And I didn't want that. I wanted to go in and think like white belt, like I'm here to learn new stuff, and I didn't want to come off like that. So once
yeah,
once that got out, people were figuring it out. So, but nobody, at least at top level, nobody gave me a hard time about it. It was more so like, and one of the owners has a WT, the owner he background, so he was more than happy to see the mesh of styles and differences. So they were very open to that. But I've been other
I
places
like
that are like that and very frowned upon when it comes to it.
yeah. No, that's true because I've also been at places where some of them accept it and some of them don't, obviously.
My coach used to say, if it works, use it.
Yeah,
Not about the styles. If it works, you should use it.
yeah, exactly. No, I 100% agree with that. So
And
before we end off, do you have any things that you feel like you wanted to say but you didn't get the chance to say?
no, I think unless you got any other questions, I'm more than happy to answer them. If you got any at all, I'm more than happy to answer them. Like I said, I've been transitioning my style into Dutch and Thai for a while. I can't consider myself a Thai coach because I don't have strictly Thai training for many years. I don't have Dutch training for many years, but I'm able to mix in my style with that style, and that's why I'm just considered the assistant striking coach for the fight team that we have at Max Gym. So I'm still learning as an instructor. I'm still learning as a coach, and I'm still learning as a student. And I think the best way to look, everyone's like, "Oh, I got my black belt. I'm a cool guy." Well, you see these 5-year-olds with black belts nowadays. It's disgusting, and
Oh yeah,
it's just in our organization. I don't know if you remember when you had to take tests you had to take like written tests for color belts. They would ask you the meaning of yellow belt, green
yeah,
belt. So do you know what the meaning of your first degree black belt means? Or do you remember, before I ask you that, do you remember what white belt means?
If I'm not mistaken, it means purity, right?
Yeah, it's like purity, innocence.
Yeah.
So it took me, I don't know, 11, 12 years to get to first degree black belt. Do you know what first degree black belt means when it comes to the translation of different ranks? And then once you get your first degree black belt,
I'm not too sure, no. Unfortunately.
you can take a guess.
Is it like you're kind of like a reborn like white belt in a way, or no?
Close. It's like it means novice. Like your
Novice.
path has just begun
Okay.
because there's still ninth degree black belt. My dad started when he was like, I don't know, 16 at Niles North High School. He got his ninth degree at 60, I don't know, 60 something. That's how long it took him for doing it. I mean, it goes to show it's like I remember I didn't my first national international competition at 16. I was a red belt. I wasn't even gotten my black belt yet, and I had been training since I was 7. And just then, I learned this the difference between sparring in class. And this is like people want to knock Taekwondo for not full con. No, this dude was beating my face, and he was punches and bunches. It was an open weight class too. I did not expect an open weight class. I was like 112 pounds, 16. The adult division is 16 to 29. This guy was 6'3", 265, and he was just pounding away at my face. And I'm like, oh, well, that really opened my eyes. And there's a big difference between local tournaments and very high up international, national competitions.
Yeah. That's like that's like the thing with martial arts. It's a long journey, and I guess one of my closing thoughts will be that just in general that martial arts it's like it's a long journey. It's not like a it's not a race. It's a marathon really. And
Yeah, the martial arts part is definitely a marathon.
yeah,
A fight is a sprint. You're fighting.
yeah,
That's a sprint. In boxing, 10 rounds, yeah, it's a marathon, but you're sprinting all those 10 rounds. You should be.
yeah, yeah. No,
So
that's for
yeah,
sure.
it's definitely a journey. After, like I said, from 7 to 16, I still wasn't a black belt. When I finally got black belt, like 17, 16, I'm considered a novice.
Yeah. So it's been an honor having you on here, and hopefully in the future, I hope to do like more of these with you as well. You know,
Yeah, I'm always more than happy to talk about it. I love talking about martial arts and the philosophy. And
no, I really enjoyed this. Yeah,
yeah, I mean, I could talk about it all day, whether it's how we think the questions, whatever questions you have, I'm more than happy about it. I'm never going to try and knock a style. Like I said, it's about the martial
practitioner.
artist,
Yeah,
the practitioner who can utilize and master that art.
yeah. Well, if you enjoyed all this, please like and subscribe and hit that bell notification so that we can keep more content like this coming up. But until next time, peace.